Hey gang, welcome to Uncle Voodoo's backyard. Today we're going to talk about toolkits, and this is kind of inspired by me taking the top end off the Janus and getting down into the top part of the bottom end, get that cam installed. I mentioned in that video that I did that using only the onboard toolkit that I have on the bike, and that toolkit was just pieced together from my main toolbox that I have, and so which really wasn't a problem. But it became kind of an issue when my wife buys something from IKEA and I need a tool and I got to go out to the bike to get it, and it's just no longer in my main toolkit. So I wanted to put together a specific toolkit for this bike. And so I learned a few things during that tear down and rebuild that I had done as to what should and shouldn't go in the toolkit, things like that. Because I couldn't do the oil change without going back to my main toolbox. So whenever I have to do something on the bikes and I can't do it with the onboard toolkit, and I have to go to another toolbox to get that tool to work on something, I take note of that and say, should I be carrying this tool on the bike, instead of being without it? Because obviously I had to go back to the toolbox to get something I didn't have. Because I like to do the maintenance and things on the bikes with their onboard toolkits. So that kind of gives you, more of a connection with your bike, because the toolkit is part of the bike to me. So on the road, if I need something done, I can think about it and be like, I've got the tool to do that job. I had an issue with Maverick not too long ago, and it was of my own making. Had gone to a friend's house and left his house coming home. And it was a chilly day, and I started realizing, after a couple of miles down the road, I was like, why is my right leg freezing cold? My left leg's fine. Why is this one suddenly different from this one? And I looked down and saw that my pants were covered in gasoline, because I had gasoline shooting out from under the tank on the right-hand side. So I quickly pulled over, shut everything down, glad nothing caught on fire, and had to assess the situation. I had recently done a valve adjustment on this, so I had the tank off, and apparently I didn't get one of the connections fully seated, and it just worked itself loose and just happened to come loose at that time. So I had to remove the tank on the side of the road, fix what I needed to, put it all back together, and get back underway. And so that's why I'm saying you kind of have that connection with your bike and your toolkit, so you can take care of things like that down the road. I haven't had to fix anything on Bimble while underway anywhere. I have stopped and made like adjustments to my clutch cable on the engine side, things like that, but I haven't had to fix anything out in the wild yet. So the Royal Enfield actually came with its own toolkit from the factory. And we'll take just a quick look at that. I've got a second camera set up here so I can give you guys good shots there. Nothing special here. It's just a generic onboard toolkit that a lot of manufacturers give you. And some of them don't give you that anymore. Kind of like how new cars don't come with spare tires anymore. So I had to put together a toolkit for Bimble. And I've bought basically all brand new tools from what was used in that cam install video. Because like I said, most of them tools needed to go somewhere else. So I've kind of had a rethink on it, and I'm coming at things from a little bit different angle. And so I'll show you what I've got. And I know this doesn't apply to everybody. A lot of people, the toolkit part is like inconsequential to their motorcycling. A lot of people don't think about it. I do all my own maintenance and things like that, so I don't take the bike to the dealer or anything like that to have any work done, where other people, might take it for everything. In fact, I've seen a YouTube influencer who does bike reviews and things take a multi-day trip on a motorcycle and get to a point where he realized his chain was extremely loose and he needed to do just a simple adjustment to tighten the chain up. And he had an onboard toolkit, and he couldn't do it because he didn't know how. So if somebody like that, who feels like they've got enough expertise to be telling people what to buy, doesn't have the knowledge of how to change or how to adjust their chain, I know there's plenty of other people out there in that boat. So hopefully you're not one of those. I'm not, obviously. So let's go over what we got here. First, the case is just a travel pipe pouch is actually all it is. And I just looked through what I had, you know, in totes and things like that, and found this little case and figured, oh, that'd be all right. I'll use that. So you can see like some old tobacco in there. Ignore that. Let's get this out of the way. So we've got a little magnetic pouch that just kind of sits in the center. We'll get to that in a second. And I'll just start laying things out. This is a Knipex pliers wrench is what they call this. This is the 150. Stands for 150 millimeters or 6 inches. Set that aside. We've got us a micro ratchet, bit driver, spark plug tool. This was a screwdriver with a plastic handle, but I'm just using this piece. We'll get to why here in a second. This is a quick release adapter for the bit driver. Over here we've got a big pocket, and I've got a little mini Knipex pair of pliers there. That is the, what do they call that? The Cobra XS Mini is what they call that. 4-inch or 100 millimeters. Inside here we have us a 12 millimeter and 10 millimeter combo wrench. This is the tappet tool from Janus. These are the feeler gauges for adjusting tappets. And one last item, a quarter. So we'll set these aside. So when it comes to these are two big items. This one especially. This is just, I'm just replacing a pair of pliers is all I'm doing with this one. And this is kind of like a mini set of channel locks. And they're of decent quality. I wanted a good set of pliers instead of just having just the cheapest thing I could find to throw in there. So treat myself a little bit. The difference between this size and the next size up and all sizes bigger is they will come with these red handle coatings, and the tip is ground flat on the bigger ones. On this one, it's pointed, and I wanted the pointed tip so this can also double as a quasi needle nose if I need it. That's the only reason I went with these, and I wanted the smallest ones I could get my hands on. Now this is the big boy. This is what they call the pliers wrench, where this one is more pliers than it is wrench. You don't want to be grabbing bolts and things with this because your teeth will mar up your bolts, nuts and bolts. Just use this for regular pliers work. This one works better as a wrench than it does a pair of pliers. To adjust this one, instead of opening it and pulling it down like that, when you push this button, then you can just slide it up and down. If you notice, the jaws on these are flat across, just like a wrench. And that's what this is meant to do, is replace a set of spanners. So this adjusts from basically 0 to 25 millimeters. And so that pretty much replaces 25 spanner wrenches if I need to. And these things will put out a tremendous amount of force. It's pretty wild how much pressure you can put out with these things. We'll just set this up a little smaller. It is kind of a hit and miss on the adjustment, trying to get it like just right. Okay, so there we go. So this is a 14 millimeter. It's probably bigger because we're going to the outside, so it's probably 15, 16 mil. But you can see how those clamp down, and I've got plenty of room to press on these, because all your pressure is going this way, off this handle right here. So the more pressure you put on this, the tighter this thing grips, and it grips very well. If you want to loosen things up, or tighten things up, sorry, going this way, you want to hold it this way. If you want to loosen things, you would go this way with it. So you're always putting pressure on this handle. If you go the other way, these actually loosen up and kind of ratchet themselves around. So you don't have to take it off and re-grab it. You just loosen the grip and it will just slide around, like so. So these are pretty interesting. I've used them a few times so far, And so far they've done what I actually needed. And I said I couldn't do the oil change on Bimble with the onboard toolkit, and that's because I wasn't carrying a 17 and 24 millimeter wrench on board the bike. Those are pretty good sized wrenches when you get up to that size, but this will open up to a 17 or a 14, and now I can get my drain bolt out and I can take the screen filter out of the bike as well with this. So it will open up far enough to get up into that 24 millimeter bolt and get that off there. So pretty slick. While I've got this in my hand, this is just a spark plug tool. 14 and 18, I believe, on this side. So that's pretty self-explanatory. And I've just kept the screwdriver just so I have a T-handle. Plus, this works to help get the axles off because they got that hole in the side. You put something through there to hold it and wrench on the other side. That's what these do. Feeler gauges, it's a 4 and a 5, basically a go and no-go set that I'll use if I have to do a tappet adjustment while en route somewhere. This is the tappet tool, 3 millimeter on one side, 4 millimeter on the other side. 3 millimeters for the Janus 250, 4 millimeters for the Janus 450. That's what that tool is. Now the 10 and 12, I did keep one spanner because I have like 3 spots where I need to get at a bolt straight in from the end, and I've got really limited space to turn the wrench. So this won't work in those spots because I need more room to turn this. Where this, I can get into tighter spots, and I've got 3 spots I need to use this on. That's basically the intake manifold from the carburetor to the cylinder, the tappet lock nut, and adjusting my clutch cable on the engine side. So I've had to go around the bike and just see tools I need to fit what nut and bolt and what gets into what space and things like that. So it took a little bit of effort to figure all this out. The quarter, I keep this in here for removing and installing my crankcase cover and the inspection port for setting the engine to top dead center for doing a valve adjustment. This thing gets beat up, as you can tell, as it gets used, because quarters, they're not like, super strong material or anything like that. So it'll get some bend to it and things like that. Another interesting thing about these, like I said, these put out a tremendous amount of force. You can actually flatten things with these. You stick them in the jaws, grip it, work it down, and put your quarter back into shape, flat again. So that is that. So let's move on to these 2 items, and they need to open up this little baggie here. So in here I've got a socket set and some bit drivers that go to these items, and both of these take all of those tools. These are made by Wera from Germany. Basically, I've got a 1/4 inch driver. Fits on that. And I've got these all held together with magnets, so they'll be flopping around. Just so they're not rattling around in the bag. I've just got them all stuck to a magnet. So you can take your socket, you got a little knuckle buster ratchet. I can pull this out of the bit driver handle. Slip that into it. And now I've got some extension if I need it. So if I need to get down into a deeper spot, I've got it. Like I said, these are all interchangeable with the driver set. And I've also got flat Phillips and several Allen key or hex key sizes for the bike. And so this set can actually get moved to the Continental GT. When I'm carrying the saddlebags, I can pull this out and stick it in that one. So everything that's not included with the Continental GT's toolkit, I've got some redundancy there. Like I don't have a tool on the Continental GT for taking off either one of the wheels. So changing an inner tube or patching a tube or anything like that, that's where this comes in. Like I said, this thing adjusts from 0 to 25. So it's got a big range. And I've got a wasp flying around here. So that is my toolkit that I've put together for the Janus bike. And it will pull double duty on the Continental GT. Hopefully I never need it, but if I do, I have got it. That's just what I've put together. And I will do an update or something along the way. Then you know if any of this stuff doesn't work out, or whether it does work, great, because I'm not here to tell you, what tools to buy, because every bike is going to have, different requirements for the tools and things like that, depending on what bike you have, obviously. Like I said, my magnets are sticking to everything now. Move that away from everything else. So there it is. My Janus specific toolkit, but it'll pull double duty on the Continental GT. So hopefully you guys got a little bit out of that. And hopefully I never have to use these tools on either of these two bikes, but I know that day's coming where I'm going to have to pull all this out at some point and do something. So take care. I'll catch you next time.